booktubers and book lovers out there. Author Earl Sewell and also booktuber Earl Sewell with another wonderful recommendation for your bookshelf. Hey, but before we get started, if you enjoy the content that I'm putting up, please take a moment to click that subscribe button. I would truly appreciate it. So one of the things that makes an excellent writer, because I believe that I'm an excellent writer, I have over 20 books published with traditional publishers, and I've also done the self-publishing route. But anyway, one of the things that I think that makes a great author is that author has to be an avid and excellent reader. And so with that being said, I came across this book about a year ago. I had never heard of this author, and she produced a book called The Darkest Child, and the author's name is Deloris Phillips. And oh my God, this book was just an incredible book from beginning to end. And in my opinion, the book just does not get the recognition, or has not gotten the recognition that it deserves. So the book takes place in the American South in the 1950s. And it's about this protagonist, this woman by the name of Roselle Quinn, who has a number of children because that she cannot take care of because she's living in abject poverty. Now, for those who don't understand that, you have to understand that America had slavery, and America had slavery for hundreds of years. And then a lot of people like to believe that slavery ended at the end of the Civil War in 1861, or at the beginning of the Civil War in 1861. And when the Civil War ended in 1865, people have a tendency to believe that, oh, slavery was over, people were free, and everything was fine. Well, that's not exactly true, because after that, there was another 100 plus years of something called Jim Crow, which pushed people as close to slavery for another 100 years after the end of the Civil War, pushed people with laws as close to slavery as it possibly could. So what this meant is that a person got a poor education. They had Jim Crow laws in the South where it says you can't go into a place of a public accommodation like a library or sit at a restaurant counter. You couldn't walk in the front door, and all these things that were put in place to keep people suppressed. So this particular character, Roselle Quinn, is living that experience. And this experience has caused her to create survival mechanisms for herself that cause maladaptive behaviors. In other words, she ends up doing things that if she had better circumstances from a societal perspective, her life would have looked different, and the lives of her children would have looked different. So anyway, as she goes into this and she talks about her darkest child, which is a character by the name of Tangie May. Oh, poor Tangie May. I was really empathetic towards Tangie May and what she had to deal with. And so Roselle Quinn, Tangie May's mother, called her darkest child because all of her other children did not come out as dark as this child did. But this child was the smartest of all of her children. And Roselle Quinn took up this idea that if she had children with men who were not of African descent, and she could have mixed race children, they would come out lighter and they would be treated better. And so she took up this thing, and she had about 8 or 9 kids, and she says, oh, this is my Indian child over here, and this is my white child over here. And then she would point to Tangie and she said, this is my darkest child over here. And the story takes you on this unbelievable journey, whereas you're sucked into this world of people who are struggling. But yet there's this hope, because in the background there's a sub-story going on, or a subplot going on about this that's dealing with the civil rights movement. And you can feel that this change is coming because this civil rights movement is moving through these small towns in the South, and they're bringing change. And when change happens, people resist it and they're fighting. And so Roselle Quinn's children are wanting to get into the fight to, go ahead and let's make this change. Let's stop living on our knees and live on our feet. Regardless if our lives are put at risk, we are going to fight this. We are going to be better American citizens because we've given so much to the country. So Roselle Quinn doesn't want her children really involved in that. She wants to keep them under control. And so she is very, very superstitious and she has a lot of superstitious beliefs that are intermingled into the book. And the story, as the story marches on, you have this theme of watching the children have to deal with their mother with mental illness. The theme of the civil rights movement in the background. The theme of teenage angst, of trying to navigate your way through the world and just deal with a coming of age in a period where the world doesn't like you and you're not even sure if your own mother likes you. I don't want to give away too much of the book because it is such a delicious read. I looked up the author, Deloris Phillips, and I tried to find her so that I could send her a message telling her that how much I enjoyed her book. But sadly, I found out Deloris has passed away. And unfortunately, this was the only book she wrote. Anyway, I highly recommend that you read The Darkest Child by Deloris Phillips. It is a masterful piece of work, again, set in the American South in the 1950s. And it is one of those books where when you turn the last page, you just want to go and you want to hug the characters in the book. You just want to give them a big hug and tell them, I'm so glad that I got to know you. I'm so glad that we shared space together. I'm so glad that I got to be a part of your life just as much as you got to be a part of mine. Well, again, Darkest Child by Deloris Phillips. Until next time, have a great evening, everybody. Bye-bye.